morning all. Welcome back to the second day of Intel India Supplier Innovation Conclave 2022. We'll have our memory refreshed on the safety protocols. So this is the building layout that you can see here. Where you're seated is A wing, the middle portion is knuckle, and the farthest one is the B wing. So this building is called SRR4, and the place where you are seated is bum room. We have, as you see, you have two doors on your back and two doors in the front. And the nearest safe exit is the one which is behind this door. The alternate safe exit is the one which is on your right hand side, which is on the passage near the washroom. Okay. In case of any emergencies, you need to report any unsafe situations. You are free to call 5858 or 6211-5858, which you can save it on your mobile phone. How do we announce an emergency? There will be a visible flashlight or an audible alarm hooters, which will indicate that there is an emergency in the site. Know your emergency exits. We already explained how this is being taken care. What do you do upon hearing an alarm? You need to walk out of the room safely to the safe assembly area. Now we have ORT volunteers and security personnel standing all around to guide you to the safe assembly area. You are not authorized to use any portable fire extinguishers or any medical emergencies. We have our own team to cater this. In case if there are individuals with mobility challenges, you can wait near the stairwells. Our team will help you to evacuate you safely. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to have more energy. I thought you all were energized. Very good morning.
Very good morning.
So how many of you are coming for day 2? How many of you are here? Wow. More than 50-60% were there. And welcome to all the people who are joining from online channel through. I am Bhaskar. I am your MC today. And I was energized. It was a great sessions. All the parallel tracks were full. This hall was full. I saw many people even standing. We had to put extra chairs. So thanks for energizing us to do it more and more. It's a feedback system. It's a partnership. We give you, and you give it back to us. So that's a cycle we're trying to create here. That's what JC and team also talked about it yesterday. And how many of you visited the technology labs, booths, demos? Did you like it? Can you have a louder yes? Yes. That's great. So without delaying much, to talk about how was day 1, and how was the proceedings, and then highlights of the key things, what happened, I would like to invite Country Manager Supply Chain India, JC.
Hello everyone, and good morning to all of you in the room here, and then good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people who are joining us online. I was just told before I came onto the stage that there are 400 people online at this point of time. So very, very encouraging. And as Bhaskar said, this is just really a good partnership we are seeing. And glad to see that people are ready to take the traffic situation in Bangalore and come for the second day again. 50% of the room is coming for day 2. So thank you very much for that. Some of the things I will start with maybe a repeat because many of you were here yesterday too. But so bear with us. But for the people who are joining today for the first time, for them it would be a good information. This is the second Intel India Supplier Innovation Conclave we are having. The first one we had in 2020. That was almost an experiment. We wanted to see if this would be something the suppliers will appreciate, our tech community in the ecosystem would benefit from. And all the inputs that we received, told us that we should continue every year with having this conclave together. So this would be a participation this time from our supplier community, 300 plus suppliers participating in the conclave. Overall, we are expecting 1,000 participants from supplier community, from government, academia, and lot of our tech industry partners who are participating in this 2-day conclave. So this is very, very encouraging, and the numbers and some of the things that we saw yesterday, just some snippets of yesterday, there were multiple tracks. We had leadership at the highest level from Intel participating in the conclave yesterday. We had our IT Minister of State with us, and he gave some great messages. So just to give you some summary, the Kevan, our Executive Vice President, he talked about how the data is becoming very, very important, and how the silicon is going to make sure that we can capture all the usages of the data. And then Intel's IDM 2.0 strategy is actually based for making sure that many usage models can be derived using that data. And he talked about the importance of partnership in the supply chain. And he gave us the challenge of how we can really strengthen that partnership and take advantage of all the data eruption that is happening, all the consumption of silicon or semiconductors that is happening in the ecosystem, and take advantage of those opportunities and work together towards it. And when he talked that Intel is all in the center of it, I think our minister talked about, he said everything else I agree. And he said that I would like to say that India is in the center of all of that happening. And also our minister was very, very forthright on encouraging companies to come participate in the growth story of India, and all the incentives that they have put in place, take advantage of those incentives. So that is a huge call out for all the companies that are assembled here. Nivriti, our country head in India, she talked about the really dependence and the partnership that we want to have with the suppliers, and also play a very, very large role in the ecosystem. So those were some of the messages came in. We also inaugurated the semiconductor manufacturing supply chain report. Very, very proud of people who had worked on it, and we were able to bring that report. And this could be a foundation for encouraging people to invest more in developing a very, very vibrant and strong manufacturing supply chain in India. So those were some of the messages that came in the front session. Then there were parallel tracks. I wouldn't go into the details, but one of the key theme or the messages that came from that was that this was a very good place to talk about the semiconductor supply chain. I think we don't have a forum external to it today, and this becomes a very, very critical forum for all of us to come together. Those were some of the messages that came from the overall. Vivek, if you can put the slide up. So going forward, so what to expect today? I think yesterday our themes were more from the business verticals within the supply chain. We had tracks, and people participated in the tracks from the manufacturing or systems manufacturing perspective, overall manufacturing supply chain, the analytics, and so on and so forth. Today we will have, of course, design engineering track, which is very, very critical. A lot of you guys would be participating in that track. But we will have also some of the horizontals that are required within the supply chain to make a very vibrant supply chain ecosystem, which is around talent, innovation, research in the supply chain space, supply chain resilience, the security required in this space, the risk and controls that becomes a very, very critical part of supply chain, and how do we really make sure the sustainability and the diversity in the supply chain is maintained as we grow this ecosystem. So those are very, very key horizontal ingredients, and we will have discussions, around those topics in the verticals. Now, one of the key highlights yesterday, a lot of people I talked to were very, very interested in the demos that are put in place here. There are 25 to 30 demos that physically are here, but online we have 14 to 15 demos. And lot of you guys were interested to see that now you can use some of those companies or those models that people were showing within your take it back into your companies or use it for some ecosystem development. So people who are new today, who have not visited the demos yet, or people who were yesterday and not gone, I would highly encourage you do that. They are very, very interesting. There are a couple of cars outside the campus also which show Mobileye capability that Intel has. So please, when you're walking out, just visit those cars and learn more about it. So to kickstart us today, like yesterday we had Kevan from Intel, we had Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar and Nivriti kicking us off. Today we will be kicking off the day 2 with Jackie Sturm, who is our Corporate Vice President, Manufacturing, Supply Chain and Operations. So she will give her messages. She is a very, very passionate leader, and she's very passionate about diversity, resilience in supply chain, analytics, and so on. So she would give her messages on those. And then Amitesh Kumar Sinha, he has joined newly, and he's a joint secretary to Ministry of Electronics and IT. And also, he is an interim CEO for India Semiconductor Mission. This is something that was announced recently, India Semiconductor Mission, couple of months back, and he is heading that organization, for now. So we will do the kickstart with them. So thanks to Jackie and Amitesh for doing that for us today. And with that, I will turn it to Jackie to take it forward.
Good morning to everyone at our 2022 India Supplier Conclave. Although I couldn't be with you in person today, I appreciate the opportunity to join you all virtually and talk about something critical to each of us as leaders of organization, and that is delivering impact through our purpose. When companies, supply chains, and countries have aligned purposes, we can create positive change for our world together. Since Intel's founding back in 1968, we have striven to be a purpose-driven company where the products that we create and how we create them provide nonlinear value to the communities in which we operate. Today, our purpose is to create world-changing technology that improves the lives of every person on the planet. In this era of broad customer and shareholder expectations, I want to delve a bit deeper into this purpose and what a similar purpose might mean for India. Starting with world-changing technology, every facet of our lives are leveraging digital experiences to enrich, to educate, or empower us. This trend was already strong, but it was accelerated by the pandemic, as well as the insatiable demand for semiconductors that's being driven by many devices and industries integrating more and more smart capabilities into their functions. As a result, the global semiconductor market is projected to double by 2030 to $1 trillion marketplace. This scale of growth represents a tremendous opportunity for companies, for countries, but especially for people who are connected to and contribute to the PC ecosystem. When we talk about the next phase of improving the lives of every person on Earth, the first thing that comes to my mind is jobs, great jobs, jobs that create a vibrant middle class, enabling a better standard of living for generations to come and for today. A recent study by the World Economic Forum projected that India would grow to upwards of $9 trillion in GDP by 2030, making it the world's third largest economy. To ensure socio-political stability and support that economic growth, this means that India must create more than 100 million new jobs by 2030. We think that semiconductor manufacturing could become one of those great value-added industries to help enable this significant growth potential. And of course, critical to all of humanity is safeguarding our planet. India's pledge to reach net zero emissions by 2070 represents a strong commitment to reducing the impact of climate change at the same time as you bolster the economy long term. The Deloitte climate model predicts an $11 trillion economic gain in present value terms could be possible for India if global warming can be limited to 1.5 degrees C in 2070. On the flip side, the negative consequences of failing to achieve this goal is dire. Global warming of 3 degrees C by 2070 could portend economic losses on the order of $35 trillion, also in present value terms, with significant impacts coming from rising sea levels, reduction in agricultural output, and extreme weather events. This latter scenario has significant implications for Indian communities, where a McKinsey study projects between 160 and 200 million people could find themselves living in areas that face risks of lethal heat waves by 2030. No single company can solve this challenge alone, and all leading companies must play a positive role in the solution by evaluating their own operations and changing their approaches where appropriate. More than ever, supply chains can play a critical role in economic and environmental progress by delivering consistently and repeatedly across all customer expectations. With companies trying to balance the concurrent challenges of the pandemic, the chip shortage, and a multitude of other disruptions, the most successful suppliers will be those who ensure that their operations are predictable, secure, and represent good corporate citizenship. If we look at recent steps by the Indian government, we see a very strong alignment with Intel's focus, along with what India sees as the future for its economy. Partnerships across these shared focus areas will create mutual value for both Indian companies and the broader Indian population. There will be tracks later this morning that will feature keynotes and discussions from other Intel supply chain leaders, as well as external speakers, on our expectations and opportunities to engage deeper. But first, I want to spend a few minutes framing examples that all of us can benefit from in a shared purpose. As is increasingly obvious, modern value chains are complex webs, and minor disruptions or impacts within a single link or thread in these webs can spawn numerous unintended consequences for suppliers, raw material providers, customers, transportation, and many adjacent industries. Companies and countries are taking a deeper look at the semiconductor supply chain and how they can balance this supply chain more geographically to insulate those meshes against geopolitics, natural disasters, supply concentration, and other risk factors that can destabilize supply. These rebalancing efforts represent a massive opportunity for countries that are prepared. Customers seeking to diversify their supply chains are looking for those ecosystems that can deliver the complete package of safety, cost, quality, availability, technology, and sustainability, because their stakeholders demand them. And these expectations extend beyond any single company. It's the entire infrastructure that determines the success or failure, from the roads or airports, the infrastructure in the power grids, water systems, what the academic system is like, and the access to trained people. Speaking of which, clearly the most valuable asset of any organization or country is the talent that it brings to tackling problems. While manufacturing expertise and digital skills are crucial, the range of diverse perspectives across gender, age, experience, and education can also create better solutions that more fully meet the needs of our global customers. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just the products that companies create, it's also how they make them, which is increasingly a priority of the world's consumers. On April 13th, Intel unveiled its pledge to become net zero in greenhouse gas emissions in our global operations by 2040 by leveraging greater use of renewable energy, more efficient factories and facilities, and by creating a greener chemical footprint. But as many of us know, greenhouse gas emissions are pervasive throughout the supply chains. Many of the raw materials used to create products come burdened with their own greenhouse gas emissions. As companies focus on lowering their overall environmental impact, the direct costs of materials and services will be assessed alongside the costs of the embedded carbon used to generate those materials or services. In this new paradigm of combined environmental and cost optimization, we're looking for interested and committed partners to help innovate to deliver the new approaches for less carbon-intensive operations, supporting the fight against climate change and creating a better future for us all. Finally, to fully achieve our purpose, the expansion of value-added manufacturing has to create value for all. For Intel, diverse-owned suppliers have proven to bring innovative solutions that ultimately benefit our customers and our stakeholders. At a fundamental level, this program expands our company's competitive pool of potential suppliers. We've selected many talented, diverse suppliers since we launched our program back in 2015, even in those commodities where we were told for certain that no diverse suppliers existed, or that those who did not have the capacity to handle a company the size of Intel. They were proven wrong. Recently, we've been able to quantify the intrinsic value that those diverse suppliers have brought to Intel. And the most telling stat is that 5 out of 5 of diverse suppliers' scorecard results are meeting or much more often exceeding the scores of their category competitors. This type of value has been well documented in a multitude of reports across all industries, but it's particularly great to really see it in our own results. While there has been some progress over the past 2 years as total spends have increased in India, I really want to challenge each of you in your companies to look at how you can further improve your diverse supplier spending. How can you expand the percentage of Tier 1 and Tier 2 diverse supplier spends in your portfolio to create an even greater multiplier effect for women, LGBTQ, and veteran-owned businesses in your communities? Each of us must lean into the India Semiconductor Supplier Diversity Consortium if we hope to make these expanded goals a reality. Now, we've had a chance to discuss exciting opportunities for the Indian economy and companies, but what can we do to translate those prospects into real wins? To achieve the kind of success that we need at a nonlinear or even exponential level required of a $9 trillion economy will require unflinching focus, collaboration, and a shared purpose that seeks to make transformative change. Intel is prepared to partner with you to share our methods and our approaches to overcome obstacles. But everyone involved must be dedicated to contributing at their highest level to achieve this shared purpose. Only the sincere engagement of each of us at our best will enable the economic, societal, and environmental impacts that the world needs today. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to transforming the world together with each of you.
Oh, that was inspiring. And some of the messages, Jackie had. So thanks to Jackie. One of the things she talked about semiconductor or India Semiconductor Supplier Diversity Consortium. This is something she is challenging all of us, and to say, how can you come together as a group or as a community, as a supplier community to make sure we can all take few steps in that direction together. Right? And sometimes it's hard if you cannot take it immediately, but at least have a goal for next 5 years, 7 years, what we can do independently as companies, and then together as a community. So this is something we will talk more in some of our sessions or parallel sessions that we have together, and take this forward even beyond this conclave, and see how we can all come together. So something for all of us to think about. So with that we move next to our guest of honor of today, Amitesh Kumar Sinha. He is online here, and he will. I'm inviting him to start to give his messages. And thank you very much, Amitesh, for being available today for this conclave.
Thank you.
Amitesh, can you start a video?
Yeah, I'm trying to start. It is not coming. You have to, perhaps somebody has done it from your side.
Vivek, can you help? Are you sharing the PPT?
If you say, I can share.
No, sir. I think the team has already shared it. I think they will.
Yeah.
If you say next, they will move it.
Yeah.
You still not able to start the video?
No. I'm trying, but it is not starting. Shall I join again?
Yes, sir. Yeah, maybe that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are sharing the presentation. You can you can start, sir.
So there's some problem in video. So I can start.
Then let's get started, sir.
Yeah.
So good morning to all participants in this Intel Strategic Partners Forum. Today we are going to discuss about the India story. We all know that India's economy is thriving and it is growing very fast. So I'll just give you some glimpses of that, and then we'll come to the semiconductor area also, in which every Indian and every government company is trying to bring in India. Next.
Vivek, next.
So in order to understand India, first we have to understand vision of India. And our Honorable Prime Minister has very clearly stated that India wants to become a reliable partner in global supply chain. And whatever policy making is happening right now, it is keeping the goals of next 25 years. Next. So India want to become $5 trillion economy by 2026. And out of that, we expect that $300 billion will come from electronics. Next. India took 63 years to become $1 trillion economy, and another 1 trillion was added in next 7 years. Another 1 trillion was added in 3 years' time, and now we are thinking that by 2030, with this speed, the growing speed, we can reach 8 to 9 trillion economy. And this is the clear path, growth path trajectory that you are seeing. India is fastest growing or adopting fintech things, and we are also second largest internet user at present. The startup ecosystem is very vibrant in India, and And you can see that unicorns are coming up at in every week. We are seeing one unicorn. Next. So we have 1.2 billion smartphone users we will have by 2025, 1 billion internet users by 2025, around 2.5 gigawatt data center we will have by 2027. Right now it is around 0.5 gigawatt, so 2 gigawatt more will be added. As I said, in electronics we will achieve 300 billion, and auto market and other wireless market also will become a very big 300 billion, 100 billion. Next. So now question comes, why investment should be done in India? If you see the boxes that is required for a friendly investment scenario, India ticks all those boxes. Government incentives is there that I'm going to discuss. Labor cost is cheap in India. There are abundance of talent. If you want to scale up your business very quickly, you can hire people and start your business, which is difficult in other part of the countries. Ease of doing business is there, and government is constantly trying to improve it. We have very robust security of IP and asset protection. Supporting infrastructure is there. State government is also coming forward. They are building clusters, hubs for supporting such kind of plug and play model. And geopolitical consideration clearly says that in order to have a robust supply chain, there should be an alternative place. And India is, I think, the place where many supply chain can be shifted. So this Intel MEITY is also one of that opportunity, and Intel is also trying to increase their footprint in India. So for this forum, I request the supply chain, other players also who are participating in this event, to consider India as a place where they can shift their operations and add to the domestic value content of the equipments. Next. If you see, very good tax reforms are already in place. If you set up a greenfield manufacturing unit in India, the corporate tax is only 15%, which is one of the lowest in the entire world. So this is a very good change. I request everybody to consider this, because this is applicable up to 31st March 2025 if you commission a plant, greenfield plant. Next. If you see in indirect tax reforms also, GST is very, very helpful. And why GST is helpful? Not only it has subsumed many indirect taxes, it also reduced the logistic time, travel time by 20 to 30%. Otherwise, there were state boundaries and delivery happening. So again, that on direct tax and indirect tax form, both India has done very well. Next. There is a concept of bonded warehouse also, where you can freely import your components and goods also. Plant and machinery can also be imported duty free, most of the items. And when you are exporting finished product, there will be no impact on any duty in India. But if you are selling in domestic market, then of course the local taxes will apply. Next. If you see ease of doing business ranking, earlier in 2017, when the ranking was 130, and very rapidly you can see every year it jumped, and at present we are 63 in 2020. After that, this index has not been published, but we think that we have improved a lot from 2020. And this you can feel also whenever you go to any government office or interact with any state officials, you will see a lot of change in their behavior. And government is trying to reduce processes. Every quarter we are trying to remove redundant processes and procedure. So again, that will reflect in coming years. Next. So India is a very good place for investment. And if you compare MNC performance outside India and within India, you will find that return on capital employed is 34% for Indian arm of MNC, where it is 15% for if they are working outside India. So here are some comparative example given. So this is also a testimony for investment in India. Next. If you see global manufacturing competitiveness index also, India is amongst the lowest, and below India, only 4 or 5 countries are there who can support a cheaper environment for manufacturing. So this is again another index. Next. Next. So if you see the growth story of electronics, right now we are $76 billion. And by FY 2026, it is expected to increase to $300 billion. It has some components. So we are seeing a lot of improvement in mobile phone manufacturing. From 34 billion in 2021, it will increase to 110 billion. And in IT hardware, we have very small market right now. From $2 billion, it will increase to $40 billion because a lot of incentive schemes are also operating. Next. If you see India's incentive ecosystem that government of India has announced recently, so altogether $30 billion fiscal incentive has been provided. 7 billion is directly to support electronics manufacturing, 10 billion for semiconductor and display ecosystem, and 13 billion again for allied sectors which are also contributing to electronics like advanced chemistry, cell, automobiles and auto component, telecom, networking, solar PV module, and white goods. So altogether, $30 billion ecosystem of incentive government of India has provided. Next. Now, if we see the type of incentive that government of India is providing, so it can be bifurcated into 3 parts. One is production linked incentive scheme, where it is linked with the sales of final product. Another type is capex linked, where you bring plant and machinery and other capex expenditure you add together, and there is incentive on that. And then a third kind of thing is setting up electronic manufacturing cluster, where your factory can go and have a plug and play model. It also reduces your cost of operation. So these are the 3 kind of incentive structure. In PLI, we have allocated $5.5 billion for mobile phones. $1 billion is for IT hardware, $0.5 billion is for electronic manufacturing clusters, and $0.5 billion for on components of electronic goods. Next. If we see the main incentive scheme that is currently in operation, so one of that is large scale economic manufacturing. Here incentive is starting from 6% and lowering down to 4% in a period of 5 years. The target of production here is 10.7 lakh crore, and out of that 60% is expected to be exported. And we try to achieve here a domestic value addition in mobile or electronic components, and this will certainly going to create a lot of jobs, and the target is to create 1.8 lakh jobs because of this incentive. Next. So this is the list of goods which is covered in component part of PLI scheme. So for all these items, again, PLI is available. Next. These are the companies who are participating in large scale electronics manufacturing. Next. If we talk about incentive for IT hardware, again, the incentive here is ranging from 4% to 2% over the period of 4 years. And the production target is 1.6 lakh crore here, 21 billion. And out of that, 37% is targeted to be exported. 14 number of players are participating right now, and the tenure of the scheme is 4 years. Again, a domestic value addition is one of the target in this scheme. Next. These are the companies who are participating in IT hardware, PLI. Next. They are the companies who are participating in PLI and other schemes. Next. So in there is another scheme which is called SPECS. SPECS is basically for electronic components. And a lot of electronic components, including some of the software semiconductor related components, are part of that. The incentive is 25% of the capex, and outlay is around 0.4 billion. Again, we are targeting a lot of employment generation through this scheme, and right now we have received 34 applications under this category. And the important companies are Tata Electronics, Salcop, Sharsa, Ademia, and CDI. Here we are also targeting domestic value addition from 20% to 40%. Next. So incentive, if you try to see in different brackets, there is incentive on components, incentive on sub-assemblies also, and incentive on finished goods also, like mobile, server, tablet, laptop, automotives, and EV. So in all these bracketed, we have incentive, and you can avail all of them because of structure of these incentive schemes. Next. If you see the total impact of incentive, it is ranging from 6.4% to 9.99%. We understand that India has some disability vis-a-vis competitive countries whenever it comes to manufacturing. So we are trying to address those disability through these incentive schemes and other kind of direct and indirect tax measures. Next. Apart from incentive scheme, the other additional government support is in the form of electronic manufacturing cluster, where the subsidy incentive is given for setting up manufacturers to start their business very quickly. And then demand aggregation is another support, where in all public procurement there is a component to buy from local sources. So this is very helpful for any company who is coming to India and looking to this market. At least this is a captive market for them if they are manufacturing in India. And then R&D and skill support is there. Now we are trying to include 2.5% of the scheme outlay dedicated for R&D and skill and development things. So this is, again, we are trying to create a talent pool in India so that it can support all industries. Next. There the ESDM landscape, you can see clusters clearly visible here. In NCR area, Noida, Greater Noida, Gurgaon is a place. In Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Sri Perumbavoor is a place. Likewise, in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Telangana, there are clearly hubs have been created where you can go and coexist with your other partners. Next. Now we come to semiconductor and display ecosystem. Next, for which Government of India has provided 10 billion subsidy, and subsidy is divided into a few pockets. One is for semiconductor fabs, where subsidy amount is 50% of the project cost on pari passu basis, and additional support is also available for R&D and skill development. In semiconductor and packaging, we have incentive for compound semiconductor, ATMP, and OSAT, and other kind of thing. I will discuss one by one. There is another incentive or design-linked incentive, where 50% of capex subsidy is available. And then again, on top of that, there is a deployment-linked incentive. So whatever design, if you are able to convert into commercial operation, then deployment-linked incentive is also there, ranging from 6% to 4%. And then there is a semiconductor laboratory where running fab is there. The scale is low. We are trying to modernize it with the help of any joint venture partner who are interested in supporting and modernizing this running fab. Next. So India semiconductor market, as my earlier speaker was also telling, it is going to increase rapidly. In 2015, the consumption was $15 billion, and with a CAGR of 22%, it is expected to grow to $64 billion by 2025 and $110 billion by 2030. And the key growth drivers are already visible. If you see power devices, lot of renewable is coming, grid is expanding, then IoT, use of IoT devices, mobile IT hardware is already there, EV is is one of the component, and then 6G and wireless. So all these are increasing the demand of semiconductor in India. Next. Similarly, for display ecosystem also, from 2022, the consumption was overall 5.7 billion. It is expected to grow to around 19 billion by 2025. And the cumulative demand here will be around 60 billion. Next. In compound semiconductor, also similar kind of demand is there for power electronics market. And it's expected that from 23 billion in 2018, it will increase to 139 billion. So again, you can see that a CAGR of 32%, this market is growing. Next. Semiconductor fabs, we have three type of incentive. For lower nodes, 20 nanometer or lower, this incentive is 50%. In middle node that we have defined, 28 nanometer to 45 nanometer, it is 40%, and then above that is 30%. And there are some eligibility thresholds and in terms of investment as well as revenue. This scheme is right now in place, and any good company who are interested in setting up semiconductor fab in India can clearly interact with the ministry, and we are there to support any interest of coming from any good company. Next. In display fab also, incentive is 50% of the capex, and two type of technologies are allowed in display. One is TFT LCD having generation 8 or above, and AMOLED technology with generation 6 or above. Again, there are certain eligibility limits, and they have to fulfill. This scheme is again also open. Any good company can interact with the government of India, though the initial window for fab and display was closed on 15th February. But any good company who are interested can approach government of India, and we are ready to consider those proposals also. Next. In ATMP and OSAT, anybody can apply. Incentive is 30% of their expenditure. And again, there are some limits, and we are interacting with good companies, and a lot of interest we are seeing in this particular space. Next. Design link incentive has also been provided. India is already very strong. We all know that 20% of design engineers are coming from India. And here incentive is bifurcated in two parts. One is 50% of eligible expenditure, and second is 6% to 4% of net sales when it is deployed. So one is capex link incentive, and another is deployment link incentive. And we are targeting 100 companies under this category, and it is still open. Next. We have set up India Semiconductor Mission. Right now, I'm chairing that. I'm interim CEO. We are looking for a good CEO from industry, and the whole approach here is to be driven by industry. And the role of ISM will be an institution totally driven by industry policy point of view. It will have global outreach. It will interact with global companies who are interested in semiconductor invest in India. This will be implementing agency for receiving and reviewing those proposals, negotiating with the potential investors, and finally they will recommend government of India for approval also. And they will also chalk out a long-term strategy, what India should do for semiconductor ecosystem. Next. And we are committed to provide plug-and-play facility, whether in terms of land, water, power, regulations, or coordination with state government. So we are ready to walk in extra mile with our investors, and there is no question of any kind of difficulty being faced by investors in semiconductor field. Next. The potential high-tech clusters for semiconductor also is visible. We have interacted with states, and these are the states who are very proactive, and they are ready to support any kind of investment coming from outside and within India for semiconductor. Next. To support talent and capacity building, we have already IITs, triple IITs, and IITs, 1,000 universities are there, and then we have 33 million of engineering graduates and graduates. So and there are very dedicated organizations who are already working in the field of semiconductor. So with help of that, we have kept a target to train 85,000 people in semiconductor. And apart from that, a lot of skilling is also happening for other sectors of electronics manufacturing and all other sectors of industry. Next. So we have a very good design ecosystem already available. 2,000 Indian chipsets design is available. 20,000 semicon design engineers are there. 35 plus semicon design companies are also there and is expanding rapidly with government support also. We are going to launch Shakti and Vega in upcoming India Semicon India 2002 Conclave conference. You will see that Shakti and Vega will be introduced from there also. Then India is a fastest growing startup ecosystem in the world, and we have deep commitment. Government of intent is very clear, and that's why we have provided incentives also, and a lot of ease of doing business things we are also promoting. Next. So now, since Intel has organized this conclave, I want to again congratulate Intel organizers for inviting me, for having this conference, and I'm thankful to them for inviting me. And in case any future such kind of conference will be there to follow up or to or directly interact with them, I'm always available. And whatever incentive schemes I have mentioned, if any good company is interested in investment, we can appoint single point of contact from government side also to facilitate and handhold their investment. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you.
Amitesh, thank you very much for a very comprehensive overview of India ecosystem, and especially the tech and semiconductor ecosystem. What we will do is we will lot of our companies that are participating may have questions. We will collect all of them and then connect to your office appropriately so that they can get all the answers.
Sure.
Also, we have forwarded or invited some of our supplier companies for the India Semiconductor Conference that you are holding, Mr. Amitesh. So that those invitations have already gone, and some of them have already accepted the invite to attend that conference. Okay.
So with the help of your channel, I just want to invite all of the participants to join this Semicon India 2002 conference. It is available online also, and in-person participant is also allowed. And there is a website, semiconindia.org. Anybody can go and register, and they can get link to view this conference. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Amitesh. Really appreciate you taking time. And we will, lot of companies will connect offline with you and your office. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. At Intel, we create world-changing technologies that improves the lives of every person on the planet. In India, we focus on problems that require population-scale solutions. By harnessing the power of ecosystem collaborations, we drive India's growth in technology. Intel partners with suppliers across the country to bring innovation and agility to our supply chain. Intel India Supplier Innovation Conclave is a platform for us to collaborate, share, and innovate. If you're passionate about solving problems, building products, and bringing new solutions, this is the place to be. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to Intel India's Supplier Innovation Conclave 2022.
Hello again. Our next speaker will talk about how does Intel engage with the startup ecosystem. Our next speaker is Ashok Chandawakar. He's our Director of Strategic Alliances, and he is with Intel for the last 15 years. And his core area is to lead and scale the Intel startup program. And his focus is to work on the deep tech startup companies. And he's going to talk about how he's engaging with them directly or through industry bodies, academia, and government in helping them to develop the ecosystem here. He's recently nominated by NASSCOM to lead their deep tech club. And he's also passionate about healthcare and smart education. To talk more about it, I would like to welcome Ashok Chandawaka.
Thank you, Bhaskar, for your kind words. And it's good to be back on stage and in a hybrid event. It's been a terrible time trying to coordinate on virtual for the last 1 year, especially when you're talking to the ecosystem. So thank you all for coming in over here. And while Intel treats you as a supplier to Intel, and this is a supplier conclave, from a startup point of view, we treat you as enterprises, solution partners, and scale partners. So it'll be a different dimension in the way I present to you. But to start with, what we will do is the theme of why I'm here. The theme is collaborate to innovate. So unless we collaborate, we will not do the innovation at the pace and agility at which we really need that. I'll move to the thing. So the first thing which I want to do is give you a quick background. You may have heard in the previous speakers talking about India being one of the biggest startup hubs. What does that mean? And how does that actually show up when you're looking at the Indian landscape? We have close to around 81 unicorns. And 50% of them came in the previous year. So you can imagine the hockey stick which has gone up over there in terms of the number of unicorns. And we are getting approximately, like what was mentioned, a unicorn a week. But more importantly, why does a unicorn and why is the startup ecosystem thriving? You have the entire ecosystem backing it up. You have close to $63 billion coming into that ecosystem through PE funds, of which 38 billion has gone towards startups. And you have, what I've not mentioned here, is a thriving ecosystem. There are close to around 300 corporate accelerators. There are close to 500 incubators, which are there to take care of these particular startups which are there. And then that leads up to the kind of IPOs which we are seeing, as well as the kind of mergers and acquisition. Close to around 180 companies went through a merger acquisition last year. Now, you can see over here that there are a bunch of VCs which have been active. These are worldwide VCs as well as India-based VCs which are very active in this ecosystem. And as we see this investment coming in, we are also seeing a new wave coming out, which is emerging tech and deep tech. So there's a focus which is coming in, green shoots of these kind of companies coming in. In India, there are close to around 3,000 deep tech companies, and around 2.7 billion is going towards these deep tech companies. And right at the bottom, you'll see some lines over there, which are basically saying that most of the VCs are now coming out with funds which are targeting deep tech and early tech. So what does Intel do? Intel, for the last 5 years, has been working with this deep tech ecosystem. There are only 4 broad areas that we look at. So if you look at it, the deep tech should be innovative and it should be emerging tech. There should be some IP which is there with that particular company. It could be solution oriented, or it could be of interest from an Intel capital investment point of view. So those are basically my 4 boundary lines of what I look at from an Intel point of view. What do we provide to the startup ecosystem? If you have translated this into benefits which a startup will envisage or the way they will perceive it from Intel, one is to improve their TCO. The second is brand building, because startups in India may not be known worldwide, but they need to be established as a brand from there. And that happens only if you provide them the adequate support. Tech mentorship, that is a given, but we are also putting a structured mentorship program over here in place. Investment opportunities, both from Intel Capital, plus we've been working with the ecosystem. We know who are the deep tech investors in this particular, who are doing both seed series, as well as seed, pre-series A, series A kind of investments across this ecosystem. And we've basically, if you see over here, we are basically the glue to the ecosystem. We connect people. We thrive on collaboration. So that's typically one of the biggest benefits over there. We have multiple programs. I'll dig a bit deeper into the plugin program. You can learn a lot more if you come and interact with me. We have a booth over there. 4 of our startups which are there are representing us. We have a portfolio of around 40 as of now. And there are another maybe 30 or 40 which are part of the Plugin Alliance which are collaborating with us. So here are a few representative startups which are there across. It could be vertical or horizontal. We really don't bother about that, but vertical, we try and see how we can link them up to those particular industry domain experts. So I'll quickly dive into Plugin Alliance. Plugin Alliance came about because there was a gap in the ecosystem. What we found was that there are industry bodies which typically will look at policy influencing, or there are industry bodies which are looking at tech only, IT, ITES kind of companies. But there was no body which was looking at getting both the industry and the tech together. So that's the evolution of the Plugin Alliance. Plugin has been a program which we've been running with Science IIT Bombay for the last 4 years. But we graduated that program from a cohort-based program into an alliance because we felt that we can actually collaborate to innovate. So what is the Plugin Alliance? The Plugin Alliance is basically constitutes members. The initial focus of Plugin Alliance is Industry 4.0. We said that let's take a smaller theme focused on manufacturing, supply chain, logistics as the core areas. And we started saying who are the constituent members who need to be there. So you have enterprises or SMBs, you have solution scale partners, then you'll have the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, and you have the Industry 4.0 startups. So they are basically constituent members. So where have we reached basically in terms of this particular alliance? We currently have around 71 members, which if you go into the details, you can see what are the members like. There are multiple diverse members over here. And the reason for this diversity is basically because we are looking at collaboration across industries. Think of packaging. It could be done by Diageo for its bottling, but it can be done by Flipkart on its day-to-day operations. So innovation can happen in both these companies, and there is cross-collaboration there. Similarly, we have a bunch of startups which are there. So our aim is to go up from that 71 odd members to 150 this year. These are around 35 odd startups that are already members of this. All of these are solutions which are deployed. These are not early stage startups. These are all solutions which are chosen. We basically curate them and we take them into this thing only when we know that they have deployed at scale. Back to this thing. So what is it that we are trying to do over here? So the aim over here, like I mentioned, I treat you as solution partners, scale partners, or enterprises. All of you will look at innovation in a way or help innovation. So join the Plugin Alliance as a member. So that's basically my underlying theme. And there's a lot of benefit in terms of coming in over there. We can collaborate. There's special interest groups which are being formed in specific areas. The idea is to try and see how we can build up themes. One of the themes is 5G robotics, for example, which is trying to see how we can do that. You should visit our stall. There's a company called Adverb in there. Adverb typically has been awarded a $1 billion contract by Reliance Retail for setting up its entire automation. And those are the kind of companies which are setting up plants in India. They're setting up a 50,000 robotic plant in India. So with that in mind, I would pause. I would basically go back. Sorry. Can you just take to the next slide? So, no. Okay. So with that, what I would say is that visit us, come interact. I'll be there till at least 12 o'clock at the booth over here. My team is there. In addition to that, the 4 startups are there, which are represented here. Each of them is very unique. Idea would be to come and see how we can collaborate, and we can maybe take this on further. Thank you. I don't think we have time for questions, but I'm available over there for any questions at the stall.
Artificial intelligence as a technology is going to revolutionize every industry vertical on this planet. India has a fantastic opportunity to leverage AI, create human-centric technologies, and develop solutions to population-scale challenges like road safety and universal healthcare access. At Intel, together with Mobileye, we're developing technologies like ADAS and fully automated driving systems that not only will add trillions of dollars to world economy, but will reduce accidents and save lives. In this journey of ours, our suppliers are our most critical and important partners. I look forward to working with all of our suppliers to develop these technologies and deploy these solutions in the field. Intel India's Suppliers Innovation Conclave is a platform for us to collaborate and innovate together. I welcome you all to the conclave.
It's not on. Our next speaker will come and talk about Intel Unnati program. It's about how do we skill the Indian engineering students with relevant data-centric skills. So we will invite Sumit Verma, a Director of Strategic Alliances in Intel. He's with Intel for the last 19 years, and he's deeply passionate about education ecosystem development. And he's highly passionate about how do we skill the students and reduce the gap between the academia and the industry. Okay. In his current role, he's leading key external alliances in the areas of innovation, research and business development, in the technology priority areas of IoT, ADAS, 5G, and AI. Okay. He collaborates directly on government, industry, and through academia associates. Okay. With this, I would like to welcome Sumit Verma.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Okay, good morning, everyone. Are we good? Can you hear me? As many of us, this is my first face-to-face large conference in last couple of years. So I'm really excited to be here. I hear echo. Do we want to change the mics or do we take the podium mic? Is this better? Yeah, clearer, right? So good morning again. I'm very excited to share a brief overview of a new program that Intel has rolled out called Intel Unnati, which aims to equip students with industry-relevant skills in the data-centric space. This program was co-developed by JC, my friend Ashok, and several other key leaders in Intel India, as we saw a big opportunity as well as gap that existed in the academic ecosystem space. So let me share quick background. We'll skip the legal disclaimer. Quick background. We are in Industry 4.0, right? And which is essentially looking at transformation in manufacturing and industry. I'm not going to speak about 1, 2, 3, right, which is steam, electric, and computerized automation. But the matter of fact is AI, blockchain, IoT is really accelerating the fourth Industry 4.0 in which we are in. Second opportunity is India, which is the $1 trillion opportunity that everyone seems to be talking about. So I thought, okay, might as well, I should also join the ride. And it's not about just 1 trillion, but the enormous amount of dollars and the GDP growth that the country has to see. And what it translates into is a higher dollar and investment that happens into the education space. As per the National Education Policy itself, while the GDP is growing, the percentage to GDP in education has also been set to increase drastically from 3.5% to 6% in a few years, which would mean much more dollars available in the higher education and education system at large. This financial year, it's a rough number, but the budget allocation in the education space, higher education space, is over $5 billion, which is phenomenal amount of money that's going into, right? And then we look into the higher education system, and we're focusing on higher education space in India, which is the one of the largest higher education systems in the world, right? But having said that, it has extremely large gaps in terms of industry scaling, right? Still, the scale of higher education system, I don't want to preach the choir, but we have more than 40,000 colleges, 6,000 AICT approved institutions, engineering colleges, over 1 million engineering graduates every year, right? 30 million plus active student population. So it's large numbers that we're talking about, right? There's also a large developer base in India, right? So 5.8 to $8 million, 5.5 to 6 million developer base in India, which is set to be 10 million in a few years. And then what it would mean is that India will have the highest developer community in the world, right? So these are fantastic numbers. The scale has been excellent. The startup ecosystem, my friend Ashok mentioned, right? We were not so much in the race 5-10 years ago, but now we are, in quick time, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. What does it mean? The same thing can also happen in the education system. The numbers are there, but having said that, quality disparity is extremely high between the top tier institutions and the next second tier and tier 3 institutions. So that needs to be filled up, right? So this is the gap that we're talking about. And what Intel did is, we said this is new India and the new education system. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you have passed out of college in less than 10 years? 1, 2, 3, 4. Less than 5 years. 1, 2, right? So for many of us, right, I have passed more than 20 years ago. For many of us, it's very difficult to even understand how the education system today is, because we have our old baggages that dollar is not there in the system, there are crunches, etc., etc. But look at the new generation. What has retail done to them, right? With Amazon, etc., they have the latest brand in the smallest towns of the country, right? With digital Netflix, etc., they can watch the latest media aired anywhere in the world, right? But education systems still have gaps. In last 2 years, the ed tech has really paced up, but still the opportunity and the challenges are extreme in this space, right? So we said this is new India, new education system, and colleges and students have the funds, energy to be at the top at a global level. But what they lack is really the support and the holistic view of what it would take to take the next step and compete with the tier 1 institutions and the students coming up from tier 1 colleges, right? So with that, we said, can we help the institutions and equip the students with the latest data-centric skills through a comprehensive program? And we understand that no one company can do it all alone. So we said, it would require just working through the ecosystem, setting up strong education system integrators in place who would really take it to the education marketplace in such a way, right? So this program was, as I said, was officially announced in October last year. And JC is here, and thanks to JC, he was great support in kind of building up this program from grounds up. Now, right? What really is Intel Unnati, right? And why we named Intel Unnati? I'm not going to go into why we named Intel Unnati, because it's one of those words which doesn't have a very accurate English translation, right? So it's difficult to comprehend. But really, what Unnati means is to enhance and really elevate the skills and where the students come from today to really the next level. And how do we do that? Is taking a very comprehensive, complete view where colleges are able to now set up state-of-art labs with customizable hardware and software configurations, course content, trainings options, right? They will get options of training themselves or through approved training partners who could do it on their behalf, either to faculty or student partners. In the technology areas that they feel appropriate, there are few technology areas that we already have under Unnati. We have AI, we have IoT, smart mobility in the applied AI space, and FPGA solutions. So they can choose one or more of the solutions. And over a period of time, we will have more data-centric skills coming up, like blockchain, security, edge, etc. So this, when we rolled this out, we were unsure, right? Like all startups saying that, how will the ecosystem really accept it or not? But we got really good feedback. In last few months, 35 odd institutions have signed up saying that they want to be part of the Intel Unnati program, and that they are doing it through the set of system integrators. The program doesn't stop in setting up of infrastructure, giving them once training and then say, hey, you are by yourself. Because we also realize that this need not be just a one-time activity. It has to be a recurring connections that needs to be built up with this community to make it impactful and powerful. So we are building an active community that will focus on 3 areas: experiential learning, innovation, and research. Starting this quarter, we are running focused sub-programs or initiatives, which are 4. One is the Intel Unnati Grand Challenge, which will work and encourage students to work on industry-relevant challenges or problems. Second is the Unnati Catalyst, as well as Ignite, which will do workshops to enable students as well as faculty members to understand and be involved in what's happening in industry and ecosystem. And 4th is for the faculty members, which is the research launchpad. We also realize that the amount of research dollars that go into academia, there's a big disparity between tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3, right? So how do we encourage research at tier 2 level and also encourage research at undergrad level, right? So Intel Unnati Research Launchpad will focus on that. So the goal for this year is to set up 100 Unnati labs across institutions, and most of them will be in tier 2, tier 3. As I mentioned, where we stand today, we have about already 35 labs set up or signed up. And you are welcome with this community. My call to action is you are welcome to participate in the program through your organizations on technology-specific areas or other opportunities to collaborate, including talent. And also, if you'd like us to collaborate with institutions that you'd think would be a good fit, right? With that, I would like to thank you all for listening and have great time for the rest of the conference. I'll be available for any questions. Thank you very much.
It starts with a spark that creates momentum. Momentum that allows us to reach new heights and better the lives of every person on the planet. A momentum to power the future of supply chain. In partnership with thousands of our trusted suppliers. Pushing the frontiers of Moore's Law. Accelerating Intel IDM 2.0 strategy for manufacturing, innovation, and product leadership. With multi-billion-dollar investment, One Intel team is committed to building world-class supply chain capabilities in collaboration with our suppliers. Intel India advances Intel's supply chain capabilities in RM, R&D, test and measurements, ODM qualification, customer experience, analytics, fab tech sourcing area, to grow India's semiconductor ecosystem, in partnership with suppliers who provide us with innovation, speed and agility. We welcome you to the second Intel India Supplier Innovation Conclave 2022, a platform to create a win-win environment with suppliers, government, academia, startups, industry bodies. For creating a momentum that strengthens India's semiconductor supply chain ecosystem.
We almost came to the conclusion of the keynote session. For me, it's quite a joyful journey. Made some notes. We started with Jackie, who talked about world-changing technology and the importance of how companies with predictable operations will be highly successful. And then her topic came to India with the world-changing technology, how it can create 100 million new jobs in the next 10 years or so. And then importance of India's semiconductor supply chain diversity, what we can do to fuel the growth of India ecosystem, right? That's about global coming and touching in India. And then we talked about PLI, DLI, and why India, and what are the incentives for all the potential investors in India is talking about. Then we moved towards a part of ecosystem development, what Intel is doing with the startup program, startup ecosystem, how we are collaborating. And then Sumit went and talked further about how can we skill the engineering students, and then how can we bridge the gap between the industry and the academia. Okay, I'd like to add one more thing. I would like to use this platform to tell all of you. Intel even start touching from students from 6th grade by engaging them through open source community and STEM education. And most of you know for the CBSE curriculum from 8th grade onwards, they have AI for youth. And we also collaborate with the government for responsible AI for youth. So starting from 6th grade, Intel spends a lot of time. How can we go to the grassroots level and helping the ecosystem? So that shows our commitment to you. Before I end, I would like to borrow Ashok Chandawaka's tagline, let's collaborate and innovate. That's aligning with our theme of this conclave. Thank you. And I'm moving to the next details, logistics details. Okay. So we are going to have a 10 minutes break, and the next breakout session starts in 10 minutes. Those who wanted to attend product and design engineering, come back to this room. Those who want to attend supply chain talent, innovation and research, room number 102 in this direction. And those who want to attend supply chain sustainability related topic, it's again 101. 101 and 102 is this side. And then 105 will be hosting supply chain resilience and related topics. It's on this side of the corridor. Okay, I think that's clear. So see you all in next 10 minutes. Lunch will be served after the vertical track's over, about 12:15 and 12:30. Thank you so much once again for all your time, for those of you here in the room and also people joining through online. Thank you.